They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
Fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, doubled a 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above them do, doesn't it?
Hello and welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Summerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. I'm Erin, I'm joined on this episode by my co-host Alex, and today we're going to be talking to Jess, Simon and Brady, 3 people all working in bowls for bowls. But first, we're going to talk about the Commonwealth Games and our upcoming national championships. Alex, Commonwealth Games has been on for a week now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been good to have bowls back on TV at the international level, hasn't it?
It has been, and we're halfway through the event. Our women's fours have won a bronze, and the other teams, I think, have performed well. If you look at the men's triples, you know, there is probably 3 things that could have fallen our way, and they didn't, and we ended up not qualifying in that. Caitlin Lynch played really well in the singles and dropped out in the quarters, so we're halfway through. I'm looking forward to the last half. I did want to just cover in this podcast briefly sort of how to find the results if you're a Joe Bloggs bowler or person looking for them.
So I think an important thing there to remember is that it is the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. Mm-hmm. It's not a Bowls New Zealand event. It's not a World Bowls event. It's the Commonwealth Games, and they're the main. Not feeder. They're responsible for the issue of the official results. Yeah. So it's on their website, isn't it?
So yeah, it is, and there are things that we literally can't do as Bowls New Zealand. Yep. So you might have noticed if you've been checking our Facebook page and website, we share a lot of posts from the official places. Yep. That's because that's all we can do. Yep. It's
their event. It's their decision.
We can't say, can someone please take a photo and send it through to us and we'll give it whatever. It's from them. So the updates are ones that we're sharing from the official places, but the Birmingham 2022 website is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And they do live scoring. There's links all left, right and centre. And if you can't find it, just Google it. But there's live scoring of every game, bowl by bowl. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Results.birmingham2022.com I think is a good place to start.
That's where you can start. You can just have a nosy around from them. Yep. Usually on most of our Facebook posts we've been putting that link that you can just find, because and that segues nicely to the TV side of things. And we have actually had quite a lot of bowls broadcast this time round.
We've been lucky that we've been on those rinks that they're broadcasting from, aren't we? Yeah.
I'm pleased, but
they've only got 2 rinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've set up their cameras on 2 rinks. And we're getting luck of the draw, essentially, that we're constantly on those rinks, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much. So that's what I wanted to sort of cover. There are 4 greens of 8 rinks each, and 2 of those rinks are broadcast rinks, TV rinks. Yeah. And they're covering, there's a huge amount of bowls going on. Only 2 of them are ever going to be broadcast rinks. We've done quite well.
We have done quite well.
I think I counted up the other day, out of the games that New Zealand have had on the TV rinks, all bar 1 has been broadcast in New Zealand.
That's pretty good.
So I think 4 or 5 have been broadcast here. And we've had bonus ones. We got to watch there was a women's gold medal match and the men's gold medal match in the pairs, which New Zealand was not a part of. We're also broadcast live on Sky Sport.
So you get the high-end matches that are playing, as well as getting a really good coverage of our own teams that are over there as well. And speaking of broadcast and links, that's probably something to touch on a little bit here, is that Sky Sport are the official broadcaster of the Commonwealth Games. They will not put a link up. They will not give you a live stream. You'll have to watch it on Sky Sport or on Prime TV. Yeah. We will do our best to share when the games are and so on. But there have been a couple of links popping up saying, click here for some live streaming from Commonwealth. Yeah. They're a bit dodgy there, people, aren't they? So do you want to give us a little bit more information about that, Alex, and what we're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So, and it's been happening for the last year or so in most of our events, but there are these spam, they must be automatic accounts that are set up, and they just post stuff and they take keywords that we use and say, click here for Commonwealth Games live streaming, and then they'll ask you for your credit card.
Nope.
So please, under no circumstances, click that. We've actually turned off commenting on a lot of the posts because it was ridiculous. You or I would sit there and we'd have literally 15 to 20 comments that we had to go through, block and delete these people.
Yeah.
So what we're doing instead is sharing the Sky broadcast schedule.
Yep.
If you can't find where it's shared, just Google Sky broadcast schedule.
Yep.
It'll be there.
Yep.
And that has on it, if you just type in lawn bowls into the search bar or click on the link,
Yep.
it has all the lawn bowls that is coming up on Sky. The other thing you can do is go to Sky Sport Now. So
Yes.
that's a digital service that they provide.
Yes.
That's one that you can click on because it's branded as Sky Sport. It has its own broadcast schedule that you can look at, and they're doing a really good deal. Although, I mean, we are halfway through. I'd still pay for it. We're halfway through the Commonwealth Games, but they do have a Commonwealth Games pack for Sky Sport Now. I think it was $25 to cover the month, which I think is a reasonable price to pay if you want to watch 12 channels of sport, which also includes a bit of bowls. So
Yeah.
please only use stuff that is branded with Sky Sport.
Yep.
Anything else is just going to try and take some money away from you, and just please don't click it.
And also on that, we will put our commenting back on. We appreciate hearing from you guys, and we really don't like having to turn off the ability to comment, but it's more of a safety thing. We don't want people to get excited that they might be able to watch a stream that's not available. They might only just be tuning in. It's more it's the digital safety for our community that we're actually trying to keep. Yep.
Yes, and we do know that there were some people caught out, which was our motivational reason behind turning off the comments, because you miss one and then suddenly there's a thread there of someone having clicked on and put their credit card details in. That's no good. So
you can still you can still share.
Yeah.
You just can't comment at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's essentially all I've got to say about the Commonwealth Games. I'm looking forward to the next half. I think our players are performing well. They understand what those greens do now. They look like they're running a bit quicker than what we've been practicing on, which is good news. The reports say maybe 10 or 11 seconds. If anyone watched the Trans-Tasman at Mount Tambourine, it was more like 8 or 9. So it should feel a bit better for the players. And as I said, we've had that medal from the women's fours, which was wonderful. And there's a beautiful interview that we've shared onto our Facebook page that Sky Sport did, and it's on their YouTube channel of the four, and it was a bit emotional. So watch it, but just be prepared for
A few tears.
if you catch emotions.
So just leading into, so we've obviously done one run of disciplines. We've had the medal events. Do you want to give us the breakdown of what we're watching over the coming week?
Yeah, so we've got the men's singles is happening and the men's fours.
Yep.
And we've got the women's pairs and the women's triples.
Yep.
Are happening.
And the mixed para?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think, we're still finishing the vision impaired with Sue Curran.
Yep.
And Gerard Browse is around the place as well. So they're all available to sort of have a look on. I think with a bit of luck we'll get some of the para and visually impaired ones on the broadcast rink as well, a bit later on in the week. So there's still plenty of bowls to go, and it's all available just everywhere you look pretty much. When in doubt, just Google it is what I would say.
Yeah.
So finishing on from the Commonwealth Games, and just quickly, we've had a few people ask when we're going to open the entries up for the upcoming Summerset Open National Championships, our singles and pairs, which are going to be held in the Auckland region, more in North Harbour than Auckland this year round.
Yep.
And the answer to that question is mid-September.
Okay.
So we'll put something out and about, but mid-September is when they'll open. Don't panic. You've got time to put your entries in, and that will be based more on the North Harbour side of the bridge than the Auckland side of the bridge, although we'll need to use clubs on both.
Yeah.
So that in mind, and having covered Commonwealth Games and national championships and all that sort of stuff, we're going to talk next to someone who's actually hosted national championship at the Carlton Cornwall Bowling Club.
Yeah. Jess will be up next.
Here on the Bowls Hour.
Wonderful. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Summerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. Next up, we are talking to Jess McKinven from Carlton Cornwall Bowling Club. Morning, Jess. How are you?
I'm good, Erin. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on to the show, Jess. It's great. So I suppose the first question before we get into the beginning of the questions, if that makes sense, could you just tell us what's your current role at Carlton Cornwall Bowling Club? What would you describe yourself as?
So technically, my role is secretary treasurer, but I guess that was miracle worker was already taken. But I mean, as anybody in the bowls administration world can tell you, obviously it's not as straightforward as secretary and treasurer. It's very multifaceted, I would say.
It would be.
Lots and bits and pieces. Okay, so now we know your role. I thought we'd go back to the beginning of your, I suppose, memories of bowls. So, before you got your role at Carlton Cornwall, perhaps. So what was your first experience or first recollection of coming across bowls?
Like, literally nothing, really. Like, it was something I'd heard about. I kind of understood the idea of it, but I guess the picture in my head was, those current KFC ads that they have going?
Yeah.
That was kind of, that was like the picture I had in my mind. And then obviously I started working here, and you realise it's just so much different from what you would think it would be.
Yeah, had you ever played it socially, like at a social function or
No,
nothing
literally,
like that?
No.
So my question here is, what got you into the job? Like, why did you take a job in bowls?
Essentially, I got the job as it was like work experience from my degree.
Oh, cool.
And Gerard, brought me here for 3 months to do, that work experience. And then at the end of that 3 months, they were like, do you want to stay on? And I was like, yeah.
Got a job.
Fair
Easy.
enough.
Finish uni, get a job.
How long ago was that, Jess? When did that happen?
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it, but it's been 4.5 years now.
No.
I don't believe it.
I know, it literally does not feel like 4.5 years, but I blame that on, COVID,
Yeah, fair, cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that long.
Yeah. Minus 2 years for what is it? You've got to do the balancing for the COVID.
Yeah, COVID just robbed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us 2 years.
Well,
It's called the COVID adjustment. I've been here 4 years, but you've got a -2 as a COVID adjustment.
Oh, fair, cool.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. Right, so you've been in the role for 4.5 years. What are some challenges that you've faced during that time, Jess? What are some things that have you found a bit tough in this role?
Essentially at the start of it, the challenge was learning the game, because, if you don't know about the game, you can't really do much, in the office in the background. So I guess that was a bit of a challenge. And then, I don't know, just the usual things when you're settling into a new job, just learning the ropes and things.
Dynamics of people.
Yeah.
I can remember, and my time's all been thrown off. I don't know how long ago it was, but we had a Nationals at Carlton Cornwall, what seems like not very long ago at all.
No, it feels like last year, but it was more like 2 years ago. Yeah.
How was that for you in the club? How did you find that experience, being the headquarters of a national championships?
Oh, that was amazing. Like, it's just such a different buzz and a different energy in the club. It's quite hands-on, but it was a fantastic experience. You got bowlers from all over the country coming to your club, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and I suppose on that sort of note, on like cool stuff that's happened in the last 4.5 years, what other things can you look back on at the moment in your time in this role and think that was something that was exciting or enjoyable, or that I'm proud of doing?
We've run, our classic tournaments and things like the Mac Elliott. That's always a lot of fun to do. One of the most recent successes, I'd say, that's been really enjoyable would be, we had 5 teams compete in the National Champion and Champion event. And that was really, really exciting. Like, our women, for example, took out all 4 of the Champion and Champion events in the Auckland Centre, which is like record breaking. So that was amazing.
And we spoke to Erin Amer as well, and she spoke about how well they've been supported by Carlton Cornwall as a club, which I thought was probably speaks quite well of you guys, and was good to hear. It all contributes, doesn't it?
Oh, we do our best. Honestly, and they deserve it. Our members here are just amazing. We have the best personalities.
So one of the other things that Carlton Cornwall's traditionally been known for, although you've got a tree that's causing issues now, but you've got lovely greens, and that's why you've been like the headquarters for national championships on a number of occasions. I've heard a little whisper that your previous greenkeepers moved to Tauranga. Have you found a replacement for him yet?
We have. So James has left, and he's starting his own landscaping business down in the Bay of Plenty, so that's really exciting for him. And we've just brought on Patrick Stanaway to do the role, which is really exciting. He's really young, motivated, enthusiastic about greens. He's really hardworking, and he's fitting in really, really well.
Excellent. That's good to hear. It's good to get that out and about as well. So, I mean, that's another good sort of segue into sort of exciting things that are happening in the future. So, what's on at Carlton Cornwall Bowls in the next sort of 1 to 3 years? What are you looking at doing? Anything interesting?
Next 1 to 3 years. Yes. I guess the most exciting thing is going forward that we're going to have hopefully an undisrupted season, which is really good. Our members and the bowling community have been robbed of a lot of play recently, and so it'll be good to get back into some normality. This year alone, we're bringing in some new initiatives. So on top of our, weekly roll-ups and weekly 242s and things, we're also looking to bring in a monthly 1K tournament, a one-day event.
Mm-hmm.
We're also looking at bringing in new initiatives for junior bowlers and some coaching for our members and things. So that's quite exciting. But we've got some big ideas to bring in, a bit more participation and a bit more enjoyment in the sport.
Yeah, that all sounds like some positive stuff. And you're right, it's nice to now be sort of hopefully fingers crossed past that time where, like we talk about, Erin said earlier, the COVID equation where you blink and suddenly 2 years.
COVID adjustment.
2 years have just disappeared. That's great, and it's good to get a sort of snapshot. We're talking to some other administrators later on, Jess. I suspect we'll see some similarities across the board, but it's cool that we have these sorts of people working in our clubs, or you sorts of people. What's a nice way of putting it? People? We've got people working in clubs and centres.
We're getting to a point.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're getting to a point where it's no longer a role that is a volunteer role by a club member as such. We're actually getting enough people that are working full-time and bringing in, outside of a bowling club perspective, bringing in different skills and different energy, which is good for a number of those people who may have been, and there will be clubs who are still doing it as well.
And we still need volunteers.
And we still need volunteers, but it's just nice that they might be volunteering and losing their time to play bowls. Now they can go back to play bowls because you've got people like you coming in and running it like an organisation and developing it and building it bigger and stronger as not just a club for the bowlers, but also a bigger community in general.
That's one of the things I was going to ask just quickly, Jess, before we get on to the bonus question, the special bonus question. Have you had a go yet in the last 4.5 years? What's your bowling game like?
Yes, I have. I've had a go. Actually, it's something that I wish I had more time for because it's an incredibly fun sport, and it's way harder than it looks. You can't just show up on the green and be good, you know. So I played a couple of tournaments. I played in one of our Christmas ham tournaments, and just socially, sometimes I'll play the 242 and it's a good time.
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
Good.
And you've just given us a perfect segue into the bonus question, Jess, because you mentioned the Christmas ham tournament, and we're in midwinter, so it's midwinter Christmas time. So our bonus question is going to be, what is your favourite or most looked forward to Christmas dessert or sweet?
Oh, Christmas dessert, that's tough.
That's why we've asked.
That's why we're going to make a tally out of this, and we're going to find out what's voted for the most.
Oh my goodness. I do like a good steam pudding. I'm not a pavlova fan.
No.
Okay. Really? Yeah. Yeah, but it's either steam pudding and custard or maybe ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. That's an acceptable. That's a more than acceptable answer for steam. So we've got one down in the steam pudding. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking to us, Jess. We've enjoyed the chat about you and bowls and your role, and we wish you all the best for the upcoming season, or 4.5 seasons at least. That'll be over before you know it. So thanks for having a chat to us, and have a good rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And coming up next, we're going to be speaking with Brady here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Summerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And on the show next, we have Brady. Hi, Brady. How are you going?
I am good. How are you both?
Good, thank you.
Yep, I'm well. It's always always a plus, isn't it? It's always a plus.
When you're good, yeah.
Plus to be good. So I thought before we get started with your current role at Bowls Wellington that I'll get you to explain later, I thought we'd just quickly cover your bowling career, which is still going pretty strong. So right at the beginning, I thought we'll get right to the start. What's your first memory of Bowls?
Well, my first memory of bowls was walking with my family to the local bowling club. So I was 7, and I started with my brother, who was 14 at the time, and we just went out and had a go. He was using some old size 4 classic 2s, and because of my age, I was using indoor bowls. And it just my career just started from 2 brothers competing against each other, and it sort of just grew from there.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's always a reasonable way to start. Did you get a fizzy drink and some chips when you
were good? Yeah. That's normally it. Normally people go down to the bowling club with their family and they used to sit and they were excited because they'd get chips, bag of chippies and a drink. They weren't actually going out and playing. You're probably one of the first people who are actually going out to playing bowls with your family.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that the 5 people sitting at the particular table were all in a shock. They were all over the age of 80 when they had 2 young people came in and say, "Oh, we want to have a go."
That's cool. That's
fair
cool.
enough.
I like that.
So what club was that at, Brady?
So that was at Tatahi Bay Bowling Club, just north of Poppleton here in Wellington.
Oh, cool. And from there, what club did you sort of take the game up at properly?
So I took the game up properly at Tatahi Bay. I didn't actually start till I was 12. I was sort of just rolling up and playing galas, etc. till then. So I played 4 seasons at Tatahi Bay before moving on to Johnsonville, where I'm currently at. So I've been at Johnsonville for 6 years now.
Excellent. When you look back over your career so far, is there anything that pops out to you as highlights?
The number one highlight for me was winning the Centre Open Pairs with my brother Logan a few years ago. That was a definite highlight. We believe we're the only brothers to ever win the Centre Pairs in Wellington. There's been a few sons and fathers. And a couple other highlights are the Wellington under-18s, playing with some friends like Seamus Curd and Finbar McGuigan and Bradley Down, playing the state of Victoria in Australia. And also playing for Auckland 6 years ago against Queensland in their under-18 team. That was really fun. And then even something like marking at the Bowls Premier League when it was in Wellington, that was a really cool experience.
Did you get the stripy shirt?
Yeah. I had a blanket on the sidelines because it was cold. But
No, there's no problem with cold.
Yeah. What are you talking about? It's tropical in that environment.
Not cold at that club.
Yeah, especially in February.
Yeah, we're built different in Wellington.
Yeah, well, we get that. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Aucklanders don't like it when it gets below two-digit temperatures.
I still can't class myself as an Aucklander, so I'll be exempt. It doesn't matter how long you live here for. Okay, so right, we've covered a little bit of your bowling career, which is still chugging along. But I thought we would now talk about your role at Bowls Wellington, which is a pretty cool and exciting one. So to start off with, could you just tell us what's your official title and what does your role entail, please, Brady?
So my official title is Youth Engagement Officer and Inclusivity Officer. So thanks to, Nuka-Ora is the org that has funded this, and I started back in November. So yeah.
That's cool.
Excellent. And how did that sort of come about? Like, what led up to you getting that role at Bowls Wellington? Was there anything that pushed you to doing it, or where did you see it advertised, all that sort of stuff?
So I actually was approached by the then General Manager, Nigel Dixon, whilst I was actually on my social work placement, my last year social work placement for my degree. And I was just approached out of nowhere for a coffee and had a little bit of a chat about this potential role and if I would be interested in it. And, made it difficult for me because I was like, so I'm working part-time for Bowls Wellington, so trying to find a part-time social work job at the time was a bit difficult, but we made it work.
Nice.
Brilliant. So I suppose from that, what other challenges have you faced in the role so far from November to now?
Well, COVID's the big one. So a big part of my role is taking bowls to the schools with our Bowls in Schools program. And that has been pretty difficult because with each school having different rules and some being more accessible than others. But, I mean, the schools have been really good. We've had really good engagement. We have 45% of all secondary schools in the Wellington region engaging with us in various formats.
Cool. So what does that look like, Brady? Just quickly, sorry to interrupt you, but when you go to a school to bring bowls to schools, what does that look like for you guys?
So it's whatever the school sort of wants. So I've gone to schools where I'm in the gym. Every session that I do, I make sure there's music because that's a big part of it to make it a really fun and relaxed environment. So going into gyms, I have 25 sets of bowls with me, which is a lot to carry around, but what we've got to do. And even going on things like artificial turf, like hockey turf. It's just about getting the general idea of the sport. And yeah, bringing it to young people as well and doing it with their friends in an environment that they're comfortable in. Makes it more inclusive.
Never thought about the hockey turf side of it, but I guess at the end of the day, you want a surface that you can play on. So be it the gym or be it the hockey turf, the idea is just getting these kids playing the concept of the game. This is where you start. That's where you need to get. We're playing it here. And as they become more finessed with it, you'll find the ones that are really wanting to go that step forward, and then they'll start, let's go to clubs and let's do this and things like that. But that's a really good idea because a lot of schools have those AstroTurfs in place these days as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the common theme that I've been getting is that bowls is a real novelty for young people. It's something that not a lot of young people get the chance to just have a go at.
Yeah.
And I find that young people are really always keen to have a go at it. It's just knowing that they can access it.
Yeah.
And one of our big responsibilities here in Wellington is to make the sport more inclusive and accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Cool, that's great. So I suppose apart from the school visits, what else does your role cover, Brady?
So I'm a Duke of Edinburgh facilitator. So I'm working with some young people at the moment doing their Bronze Award for their sport component. I'm also assessing NCEA assessments as well, playing bowls. Policies, so updating policies for Bowls Wellington and releasing things like the Rangatahi document, which was a pretty big document that we released to bowling clubs a couple of weeks ago, and also coaching and just mentoring young people.
Yeah, so how did you find having to sit down and sort of produce the Rangatahi document that you spoke about? What was that experience like?
It was a bit of a challenge. I mean, I love a challenge. It was something I did over the school holidays around the new year. Starting my role so late that it made it hard to go out to schools because most people are in exams, etc. So that document took a lot of work, took multiple months and multiple people to have a look at it. But it was fantastic that it was released for bowling clubs.
Yeah, how did it feel when it was released? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, because it was a lot of work, but it was really enjoyable and something that's needed.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So, I mean, we've talked a bit about your role, and I suppose you've been in it since November. Is there any big thing you look back on and think that's been a success so far?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, our under-18 team actually went up to Hastings and won the Central Region Secondary Schools Challenge, which was awesome. The team itself came last year.
Very good.
So to go out and win it the way they did was brilliant. And other successes was just the support I've had from the bowling community in Wellington. I've had some really good support from bowling clubs, from just people around that just see me on the greens. The Bowls Wellington board have been incredibly supportive. Every session that I've done, bowling clubs have not asked for fees or green fees, etc. So every session that I've done has been free, which is a huge yeah, so thankful to bowling clubs for being so inclusive.
That's brilliant. That's cool. So I suppose from success to looking to the future, is anything new in the pipelines looking down the road? Like what's in your future plans for your role and for Bowls Wellington?
So we're already working on the under-18 regional tournament that we run this year. We're looking to host it next year, and we're already planning for that. We're also working with College Sport Wellington to change college bowls for the first time in a very long time to make it more inclusive. And so we're working with bowling clubs at the moment to get an agreement on that. One example of a potential change is getting rid of boys and girls disciplines and just making it mixed.
Yeah.
Making the sport more inclusive. And there really shouldn't be a separation, especially at a college level as well. And also a couple other things is it's planning more under-18 events. So working with other centres to plan some under-18 test matches and various things like that.
Cool.
It's good. And also just always increasing accessibility to our sport. That's a constant plan, because we can always do more.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Things.
That sounds really good, Brady. Thanks for having a chat to us. We were unfortunately you blink, it's a bit like COVID, You blink and you think it's been a minute and it's been 12. So we'll move on to the last thing now, which is our bonus question. So this is our 26th week of the Bowls Hour, and we always ask a bonus question at the end that's got very little to do with bowls. The way we've related this one to bowls is, it's midwinter Christmas ham, and then we move on to what you'd have for a Christmassy thing. So our bonus question is, if you were to choose like your favourite Christmas dessert or sweet thing, what would it be?
Ooh. In terms of a dessert, I would say something like passion fruit cheesecake, to be honest, with some ice cream.
Oh, a cheesecake. Yeah.
That is okay.
A little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I can live with that. A passion fruit cheesecake for Christmas.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. That's okay. That's why we ask these questions.
I forget about the cheesecake at Christmas time.
I don't really think about it.
I ask for trifle.
Yeah, trifles.
We'll get on to our opinions.
Yeah, we will.
Later, but
okay. Well, thank you anyway very much, Brady, for having a chat to us about you and your role in your bowling career. It's been good, and it sounds like there's some exciting stuff coming up in the future for Bowls Wellington. But for now, I'll bid you adieu and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Brady.
Yep. Thank you, Dave.
No worries. Wonderful to hear from Brady and what he's up to down in Wellington, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, it's good. It's
excellent.
good, and that was a good positive chat.
Yeah, and coming up next, we're going to speak to Simon from Takapuna Bowling Club here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Summerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And now we are speaking with Simon. Hello, Simon, and welcome to the show.
How are you, Erin? How are you going?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. This is good. Thank you for coming on the show, Simon. It's good to have you here. And you're a pretty well-known bowler around the traps, I think, in both codes. So I thought before we get into your new role at the Takapuna Bowling Club, I thought we'd just cover a bit of your bowling career. So can you take us right back to the beginning and tell us what's your earliest recollection of bowls?
Boy, how long have you got? It looks I'm pretty old.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, sorry. We'll try and make... So, look, I first, I suppose, found bowls, if you like, with my dear old dad. He was a bowler in his time. It was Mum's birthday, funnily enough, and I was doing homework. I was 13 years old, and he asked Mum, do you want to go to bowls? And Mum said, no. I said, look, me, to get out of homework, mate, I'll go. I'll have a crack at this, whatever this bowls is. So went along to bowls. Loved it, actually, and I thought it was a great sort of social game. There's a few other younger ones there, not as young as me, but a few other younger ones there. So that was fantastic. And I started probably playing properly competitively from about 15 or 16. Obviously went through the ranks of the as you do with all the rep stuff and in the early days in Upper Hutt. Actually, when I grew up in Upper Hutt, was there for 30 years. Had a little bit of success, and then sort of followed through. I've been playing constantly since I was 13. Outdoor bowls, I started when I was about 17 or 18. Had a few ons and offs with wives and children and wives, and then have been playing full-time outdoor probably since, about 1998. But no, it's been a great trip. I mean, the thing I most like about it is the camaraderie, Alex, and the community that the Bowls provides for you. What we go away every year to the Indoor Bowls Nationals, it's fantastic. And I've just started going the last few years to some of the outdoor bowls when I can get there. So, no, it's great. I love it. It's a great sport.
Brilliant. So if you were to pick some favourite moments, and I know there's a few in any career, but if you were to pick some favourite moments from both codes, when you look back on your careers and think that was pretty cool, what are ones that pop out for you?
Well, look, I think winning a national title in any sport is a great achievement, and I managed to win that the national pairs in 2004 with my great mate Darren Bell from the Waikato. The first time we ever played pairs together. We'd been running from 2002, so to win that was a great achievement, great honour. Look, I've represented the North Island, which has been a great I suppose achievement. I suppose that a couple of times, which is fantastic. And I suppose at outdoor, it's not actually a winning moment. I've been lucky enough to play with some quite entertaining guys in the past, and a couple of them are Grant Nisbet and John Macbeth, who are both friends of the show, I believe. And I think in the Tauranga Nationals a few years ago in the fours, I played with John Macbeth, Grant Nisbet, and Terry Shaw, who's Peter Shaw, the ex-New Zealand selector's brother. And we got to the last 16, and we got beaten in the last bowl by a very, very good team. Skipped by Morris Symes, who coincidentally won it a couple of years later. And John Macbeth, when we finished, I'm disappointed we've lost by one. He walks up the mat towards me, gives me big attitude. Great, that was fantastic, mate. I really enjoyed that. And that to me was epitomises what bowl's all about. We didn't win, we got the last 16, but he was enjoying himself. He had a great time, and that's really for me. That's a really quite a favourite moment. Not a winning moment, but one that sticks out of my head. And I think one of the photographers captured that moment with Grant and John Macbeth walking up the rink, and there was a photo of both of them having a laugh about things. So that was good. I think that's what it's all about. If you can't enjoy yourself playing bowls, you shouldn't be playing it.
Yeah, and well done on taking the photo, Erin.
Yeah.
Well done. Yes, well done.
Brilliant.
That was very good.
That's cool. So we've covered your ongoing career. How long have you been known as Poppy for? Just on a different note, because I've heard a couple of different. There's a lady called Alison Cowan who knew you in the Wellington days, and she thinks you're Popples, whereas I've always known you as Poppy when you introduce yourself. How did that come about?
There's been, well, obviously my surname is Poppleton, so there's quite a few variants. It's been Popcorn, Popple, Pop Off for various occasions, but mostly Poppy from time I was probably teenager years up through to now, I suppose, probably. But it was quite funny when I was younger, and people used to call me Poppy, and these older ladies would look at me and go, "You can't be a granddad." That's pretty much been the handle for as long as I can remember, Alex.
For a little while. I might have to put that in brackets when I say who's on the show, just so people know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've been talking to some Bowls admin people on the show so far with Brady and Jess, and you've now joined the ranks of the Bowls administrators. So could you just outline for us, please, what's your role title at the Takapuna Bowling Club, and what does it involve?
So, Alex, I've just come on board recently as my official handle was the Takapuna Bowls Development Manager, which I suppose covers a whole range of aspects of bowls. First and foremost, obviously Takapuna is a fantastic club. Bowls New Zealand Club of the Year for 2021. So, very innovative club, always looking to improve what we do and how we can improve the bowls community. So, one of the roles obviously is to get the corporates up and running in our area. The corporate bowls is one area where we can either both. We can obviously make use of our facilities, and but you never know when you might pick up some bowlers from the corporate bowls. It's all about making the sport accessible, and if we can get that accessible with the corporate bowls, they can come along, have a bit of a laugh, and have a friendly, non-competitive environment. Although some of them do get competitive, as you know, have a bit of fun with that, and then and have some entertainment afterwards. The other side of my role, if you like, is the secondary school bowls and the college bowls, which we're trying to evolve even more. I mean, that's a huge, I suppose, arena where we, Bowls New Zealand, can get involved in. I have a discussion with college sport and with various colleges over the North Shore, and they're very keen to get things up and running. we actually got it on November the 17th. We've got a Rangatahi Bowls Festival Day, which should be really, really good. We're going to get all the North Shore colleges involved, and with a bit of a hook, we're going to have the teachers. We can have one player in the team can be a teacher, so that's going to be quite entertaining. So the heck goes on.
That's a good. Yeah, that's a good call. I used to do some bowls activations on behalf of Royal Oak with the Junior Jack Attack thing, and we used to try and build them up to playing indoor bowls on the 6th week or whatever it was, and we always used to get a teacher to play a student. I've never seen a group of more invested kids.
Exactly. Everyone likes beating their teacher, don't they? It doesn't matter what sport it is, they always like beating their teacher. So that's one thing we've got involved, and I think that'll lead on well to hopefully to again creating hopefully a pool of players that we can get actually playing the game properly. I mean, if you look at overnight the ladies forwards that won the bronze medal in Birmingham, 3 players in there, 2 27-year-olds and 1 28-year-old. So that's the sort of age group, and they've been playing since they were teenagers as well. So that's the sort of age group we're trying to attract and trying to get involved.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other side of things as well is obviously apart from that, we're going to have a go day on the 25th of September, which is going to be kindly hosted by Grant Nisbet, and hopefully he's got a few of his celebrity teammates coming along and doing a bit of activity for us there. So that's going to be a big day for Takapuna, and to try and again raise the awareness in the community of outdoor bowls, not just for Takapuna but for all over the shore. So that should be good. I'm really looking forward to getting my teeth into that, and that's 25th of September. It's going to be a bit of a fun day, and again we're looking for those 30 to 50-year-olds who have they're just not quite, their bodies aren't quite up to the rigours of the squash or the rugby or the league or the netball anymore. But they're still very competitive, and they look for a new sport that's quite easy to play. As you know, it's an easy game to play. Everything's supplied for you. It's cheap to run, cheap to play. So yeah, it's all things are good, really.
You say that where the body's not up to it, but I played bowls recently with someone who hasn't been active for a while, and they were like, "My God, it feels like I've done 100 squats," and they were like, "We only played 10 ends," and I'm like, "I know. Yeah. See, it's the little hidden things in bowls that you don't realise. Most people sit there and think you're just walking back and forth and you're not actually doing anything, but there's a lot of movement that goes through playing bowls."
That.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a huge amount. I know that I know there's a couple of doctors that I know who have more mature people as patients, and they love the fact that their patients are bowlers, because they reckon it moves pretty much most of your muscles in your body are being used when you play bowls. So they do love the fact that if say their patients can get out and are active in bowls, they actually love it. They reckon it's great.
Yeah, active body, active mind too, because it's all a strategy game as well.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
not just hoofing it up to the other end. You've got to play an actual game.
For some of us, it's just hoofing it up to the other
end. For me,
end.
it's getting there and either getting to the end or not getting in the ditch. I can't find that happy medium yet.
For sure. I have had one disappointment in bowls actually, and that was a few Fridays ago. I actually went along to Bowls New Zealand headquarters, and I actually lost to Mark Cameron in the Friday afternoon bowl off, which was
Don't give him credit on this.
I'm not giving him credit. I'm saying I was disappointed in it. I was not giving credit. I'm saying I was disappointed, but never mind.
That's fair enough. Yeah. That's fair enough too. I lost 22 weeks in a row on the Friday afternoon bowl off, Simon. And I can tell you that I've been a happier person.
I've won it 7 times.
Well done, Erin.
I'm just gonna claim that.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, thank you for having a chat to us, Simon. It's been good. We've been pretty comprehensive covering. You answered most of the questions, which is always good. And it sounds like there's some exciting stuff happening at the Takapuna Bowling Club. And I suppose if Joe Blogs wants to find out what's happening, should they? How do they find your contact details or the Takapuna contact details? What's the best way for them?
Well, we've got a website. Takapuna Bowling Club is on the web. Got a website there, and we are on Facebook as well, Alex. We have got posters that are running for. They're going to be running for the Have a Go Day shortly. They're going to be it's going to be advertised in the local press. The Takapuna Biz Association going to send it out as well. So hopefully we can get some good feedback and get quite a few people. Hopefully the weather plays its part, which is always the hardest part on those sort of days. But yeah, look, it's my mobile number is about. Shall I give you my mobile number, Alex?
If you're going to take business calls on it, you give it to us.
It's your call, Simon. Feel free. You're the one who gets the phone calls.
Yeah, anybody can call me on 0272 123475. How's that for easy?
There you go.
Sounds nice and simple. So hopefully you get some pick up from that. And before we bid you farewell, Simon, I've got a question. We have a bonus question on this podcast. We've asked one for the last 26 or 27 weeks. I think this week's a really important one too. So keeping in mind we're sort of midwinter and we start thinking about midwinter Christmas stuff. That got us thinking about what you'd have for Christmas, and then we thought, well, the best bit of Christmas is desserts. So our question is, what's your favourite Christmas dessert?
My favourite Christmas is Alex.
It's a big question.
You know, I'm very healthy. You see my figure. I don't do too much dessert. It's got to be. Is pavlova and ice cream a Christmas dessert?
Yeah, that counts.
I would accept that.
Oh yeah, well that's me. I think pavlova and ice cream, just a small slice because I'm looking at the figure. But
fruit
yeah,
on top. Strawberries.
Okay, go on then.
Very good. Fair enough. Okay, so pavlova with a helping of fruit and some ice cream for your Christmas dessert. That's a good way to finish the chat, Simon. So thank you very much for having a talk to us, and we look forward to seeing what wonderful things are going to happen at the Takapuna Bowling Club in the coming sort of season or 2 or 3 or 4.
Awesome. Been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, Alex, pavlova and ice cream. We've had 3 different desserts.
Yep.
So we've got Jess.
Yep.
Let's just go back over them. Jess from Carlton Cornwall. Christmas pudding. So steam pudding, custard, a little bit of ice cream.
Yes.
We have got Brady cheesecake, passion fruit cheesecake to be specific, and ice cream. Ice cream features a lot
I struggle
here.
with that one, to be honest.
It's because you eat cheesecake all throughout the year.
Cheesecake's an all year round dessert.
And then we've just spoken with Simon, affectionately known as Poppy, pavlova and ice cream. So good Kiwi dessert there in the pavlova before the Australians start claiming it here.
Yeah, it's definitely a New Zealand thing.
All of the desserts feature ice cream. Alex, what is yours? What is your Christmas dessert?
Oh, thank you for asking me, Erin.
You're welcome.
My favourite Christmas dessert is something that I found in a microwave book from the mid-80s. It's a microwaved steamed pudding. It's nicer than it sounds.
Yes.
It requires copious amounts of mixed spice and cinnamon, and you sort of do it you chuck it in the microwave in this bowl. I used to make it, and then I do get, you make a whiskey sauce to drizzle over it.
Yes.
With butter and brown sugar and whiskey, and then some cream, and you have a top-notch microwave steamed pudding because we live in the 21st century.
Okay.
It's be my favourite Christmas dessert. And secondly, I do enjoy a trifle.
Trifle is my favourite.
A good trifle, though.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to take the Waddy's canned fruit trifle with a solid custard on the top, but at the same time, like mixed berries or something like that. So I'm partial to a brandy snap. I was a little bit upset last year that I went to go to the supermarket to try and get some, and I couldn't find them anywhere. So this year I have to go early.
That's
make sure that I can get them. I don't know if it was a COVID thing. Maybe there was supply issues.
I overindulged in brandy snaps as a child, so I sort of avoid them. But I remember I used to like them.
So we might actually end up taking this out there to the community because we're midwinter Christmas and we're just talking about all things nice. And keep an eye out on our Facebook page. We might put a poll up to see what is the best. Not the best. Everyone has their own opinion of the best.
Favourite?
What will end up being the most popular by public opinion?
We'll report back next week.
Christmas dessert, and we'll report back. And on that note, thank you everyone for joining us once again on this episode of the Bowls Hour, the show for all things bowls. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, remember to share it around. We can be found on Facebook every week from 7 p.m, as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and the Bowls New Zealand website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next week for more talk about everything bowls. Until then, roll on.
They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
Fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
Second for bottom with 6 points and second for bottom with 5. Yes and no. Yes and no. Paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above you do, doesn't it?
The Bowls Hour, brought to you by Summerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel.